Right, been given a thumbs up there from Jake Ellacott. So we're ready to go with, I think it's number 17 of A Podful of Saints +1. And the thumbs up, Jake Ellacott. He's a +1. Evening, Jake.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all nice and well. I have to say it's a bit warm in this hat, I'm not going to lie, so I don't think I'll be wearing it for long.
Thank goodness for that. And the other one who's an ex-Saint is Lee Wood, who looks far more sensibly attired. Evening, Lee.
Evening, David. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Come on, let's see it in its full glory. Stand up a bit. Oh, look at that.
Won't lie to you. It's a bit snug, but I'm going with it.
You should have got
It's
money.
better than looking like Benny from Crossroads over there.
Oh, it's frightening, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, dearie me.
Right, I think that's enough of the fashion show for tonight.
Yep.
It looks like we've got one last game of 2021 or 2020. Yeah, is that right? Whatever.
Yep.
Season to talk about. And it was a totally meaningless friendly at Clarence Park last Saturday. St Albans City 0, Gloucester City 0. Jake was there, savouring the big match atmosphere.
That's being extremely generous. Yeah, it was the most friendliest of friendlies, wasn't it? Almost nothing happened at all. It was not a great game. Obviously, Michael Johnson made a couple of good saves and Sean Jeffers hit the post, and that was all in the first half. And then second half, nothing happened. It was just a very flat game. I thought you could tell the decision that we'll touch upon later came the night before, because both teams didn't particularly look interested to be out there. Even being there on the day, I thought there was a sense of just almost, is this really worth it amongst the volunteers that were there? And it was just, yeah. So it was the final game. It wasn't really a high to go out on, but I suppose a draw against, a very good Gloucester City side, who are doing very well in the National League North. And I know, the National League North, I think a lot of people consider to be the stronger of the two divisions, is obviously a good result and another clean sheet, but it was just so much of a friendly. It was unbelievable. So, yeah.
That's one heck of a big straw you're grabbing hold of there, Jake. Did it look any differently in the Lee Wood household?
Not really, mate. It definitely had that end of season feel to it, didn't it? But one thing I would say is that Gloucester, I do some work for them, and they are a very well-run club. They've got high aspirations. They've just moved into their fantastic new ground. Paul Groves is assembling a really close-knit quality side there. One thing I would say, it would have been a decent test for City, but as you say, they are flying high at the top of the North, and you just got that feel. There was that sort of unfinished business feel to the game, and you can see everyone's attitudes. Their heads weren't in it at all, were they?
No, but to give Gloucester credit, I thought they took the game to us mostly in the first half hour or so in particular, although we didn't really threaten. They had, as you say, two chances, as Jake said, I think, and Michael Johnson saves them both well. Whereas we just had Sean Jeffers' free kick. Second half, I thought we upped it a little bit. Maybe they backed off and we finished quite strongly. But generally, my God, what a waste of time.
Yeah.
But I will pick out one player. Because generally it was so flat. For the first 70 minutes, what's the kid's name? Alex Lancashire?
Yeah, Lancashire.
I thought 70 minutes, nothing to write home about. Then last 20 minutes, he came alive and he put some really good crosses in and he attacked them more. That bodes well. Don't expect fireworks from him next season because he's still progressing. But you can see there is something there to work on. I found something to say cheerful about the game.
This is shockingly positive from you, Dave. Are you feeling okay?
Hey, give it time, mate.
Yeah.
Give it time. We've only just started.
The only thing I would say is we've sort of touched upon this before, and Alex, me and Lee know through a guy who works at a local sort of school that Alex is really highly regarded in sort of local footballing circles, and he's done, I think he's doing pretty well at City. I think, Ian Allenson, obviously, I think he wouldn't have signed him to the first team squad if he didn't want him there. And like you say, Dave, I thought he came really alive in the last 20, and I thought it was quite impressive because he hasn't, being part of the academy, it's not like he's had much footballing, time at all this season, really, considering they were suspended back in whenever it was, probably December, I guess. So yeah, that is one positive, and I suppose it's good to see a little bit of a pathway between the first team and the academy. It's a positive.
You're clutching that straw again, Jake. Yeah. Down the years, we've seen so many young players have one or two games here, and it hasn't worked out. And they, oh God, now put it back on, Jake. That's better. And they haven't progressed because he's getting to that age now where he's going to get other distractions in his life. A lot of them. We're going to find out in the next year or so how focused he is on his football. And don't expect too much from him last season, but next season. But fingers crossed he'll come through.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, I always hark back to the JJ O'Donnell and Godfrey Pockle, youth side that came through, and that's all you can hope for, someone like that coming through. And the next JJ O'Donnell wouldn't be bad, would they? So, no, but it's good to see them getting out there. And I think out of all the players that would have gained a lot in these last 3 friendlies, it would have been the 2 lads from the academy. So, yeah, happy days.
Well, another JJ O'Donnell, play a few games and be injured for the rest of his career.
Oh, that is harsh on JJ. He is a lovely man.
He is a lovely man. He's a great bloke, actually. And he'll always have a chat with him. And I don't think Ian was his biggest fan, but his brother's not a bad referee.
Of course, fans might not know that his brother, referees in our division, and doesn't necessarily give
well,
us
he tries to.
Yeah.
He tries to. He has a go, bless him. He's an atrocious referee.
Oh, he's not that bad.
Anyway.
Right, that game. I don't know if you two want to talk about it or whatever, but in my opinion, it should not have gone ahead. I think we touched on it last time. Should not have gone ahead. The FA had rubber stamped what the league said, end of season. So that game, all the players travelling here, there and everywhere to get to Clarence Park for it. You look across Europe, there's a third wave coming across. Everything was against playing a totally meaningless friendly. And I think certain people at both clubs need to look at themselves and thinking, what on earth were they doing?
Listen, we all are collectively agreed that, what is sort of going on isn't ideal. But put yourself in the club's position for the minute, right? They have to prepare as though the season may continue in some guise, in some way. It would be extremely unprofessional for Ian and the coaching staff not to do that and arrange friendlies like the Braintree game, like the Gloucester game, in the minute position that the season may continue. That game would have been beneficial to keeping the squad fit, keeping the squad together and match fit in time for when that season does kick off again.
You can use that argument for the Brentford game, Lee, and the Braintree game, but not the Gloucester game, because the FA said that was it the day before the game. So they could have cancelled it. It's just like the conference cancelled it a few weeks back, the day before the games, and nobody played the following day. But they should have said, no, there's no point of this. We're not going to do it. They've had their 2 games. They ignored the vote that said the season's over and played 2 friendlies in the hope that we come back. So they disregarded democracy there anyway. But that one, they had no excuse for playing it.
I agree. However, this is the thing as well. If Gloucester are committed and Gloucester are happy to do so, the thing is, this is all about building up relationships as well, isn't it? Ian will sort of tell you that he and Paul Groves would have been talking throughout. And if there's a situation in the future where anything can be done with a player or with training facilities or something along those lines, as long as everyone was safe in that ground, they followed the same protocols, which I know that the club would have been put in place for months, a good part of the year anyway. As long as they're both committed. I'm just sort of trying to vision it through the club's eyes. I know that, Jake, you're going to have a better sort of plan on how that all pans out.
Well, before I go to Jake, because he's got a bit of an insider view on it, obviously. But I agree with all your points there about the 2 clubs wanting to work together. That wasn't a game to do it. But also it's saying, it's safe to travel however many miles it is from Gloucester back and whatnot. Oh, great. We can all do it then. So we can all go out of our locality and go as far as we like because we're all safe in our little cars. It doesn't work.
No, I do get that, and I suppose it's the whole elite sport message, isn't it? That the clubs were branded with, so long ago now that they've been able to use that, and I suppose they used that in the summer when they had friendlies, etc. So is it that different now? It isn't really. But I also do totally appreciate the other side of the viewpoint that did it need to be played? No, I did wonder myself that if the game had been called off, say Thursday, that a little bit earlier, or sorry, the FA had said no more. A little bit earlier, I wonder if 2 clubs might have on Friday then gone, is it, obviously I have no idea, but I just thought that Friday afternoon about 5 p.m, wasn't it? I think both clubs just decided, we've already told our lads that we're going down to the ground, we're commuting down, whatever, we've got everyone in position to do it. So yeah, I would say that Gloucester barely had anyone there. They didn't have, I think they had 1 or 2 officials and that's it. So they literally just had the barest of bones there on Saturday. So from their side, I think they would have been fairly comfortable that they were COVID secure in that respect.
It's totally different from last season friendlies, Jake, last summer's friendlies, Jake, because you had the league season was starting after it, and we knew that was starting. This time, there's nothing. All the starting next maybe is a cricket season.
Yeah, I suppose. But then interestingly, I suppose at the time when we were playing friendlies, did we necessarily have a start date? Because obviously it was pushed back to October, wasn't it? So we weren't necessarily confident. But I do totally agree that, again, I'm clutching at straws, as you've already told me several times today, Dave. But
Jake,
I think,
Jake, can I just ask, mate, why was it billed as a friendly training session on social media, where the Braintree game the week before was classed as a friendly? Was it because the season had officially been stopped?
I'm not actually sure. So I had on sort of social media myself just been saying, well, hadn't really referenced if it was a training game or not. I hadn't received any guidance from anyone at the club when I put it on Twitter as to what it was. I think the Braintree game was definitely some sort of training session, whereas the Brentford game was more of a friendly. I mean, I noticed it was Gloucester that first posted that this is a friendly training game. So obviously the intricacies of the wording, etc. And it's, I mean, I'd never received anything from anyone at the club as to advise me as to how to word it. So from my side, I can't really sort of say anything, to be honest.
Cool, thank goodness for that.
Hey.
Moving on, boys. Moving on.
Right, we'll do a quick review of the season then, which is
God.
about 40 games less than usual. 40 games fewer, I should say. You can go first with this one, Lindley. What do you think from what we saw overall?
It's so difficult, isn't it, to sort of put a. I do feel for the side, and I believe that Ian has now accumulated his own sort of positive collective side. They are all working for each other. There's no, where is in seasons past we've had, a smattering of some sort of star names, and the rest of them have been filler, if you like. But I actually bumped into Sam Merson on Sunday, and we had a really good sort of chat about the side and the progression and comparisons to sort of teams past. And the one thing that I did say is that the collective ambition and work ethic of this side certainly matches anything that I've seen. And we're fast. We've got excellent pace throughout the sort of side. And I think it's been a positive. It really has. How can it not be anything other than that? Ian's plucked out a good handful of unknown players from leagues below, and they've hit the ground running, and they've merged fantastically with the established players that are already here. I think highlights Jeffers' goals, of course, but for me, Michael Johnson's been an absolutely fantastic player. I know it can say a lot about a team when your keeper is sort of highlighted for praise, but his confidence and skill in the goal has just means that the rest of the side can play with confidence, and they've got a little bit more stability about them as well. But I've liked the season. I've liked the players. I think Luke Warner-Ely has been decent when he's been allowed to play. He's got a really good delivery on him. And I love the fact that everyone's just working in tandem. And I can't see the league getting any tougher massively, to the extent that we can't now take this forward and kick on in time for next year.
I think you go along with most of that, Jake.
Yeah, I suppose the thing that probably stands out to me is the difference at the back and the defence, and it links to what Lee said compared to last season. Obviously, the one that started, well, feels like a long time ago now. The goals we were conceding last campaign are unbelievable, the amount as well. But this season, it's been totally different. It's been, such a contrast, and it's brilliant to see a Saints side for the first time in actually a very long time that could defend and keep clean sheets. It's been quite a while since we've had one of those. And, players that have come through, like Lee said, but one that stands out for me is actually Joy McKenna at the back. He's done really well. And I remember, Dave, speaking to you in the summer. I think you saw him. Was it Stotfold? Was it possibly?
No, Hendon.
Hendon. And you said he's one of the worst players you've ever seen. then he comes through.
That's a frequent comment.
Yeah.
Trust me, he has seen some rubbish as well.
Has, yeah.
So,
but I think Ian did really well with the acquisitions, and it's been a really good season. I think obviously ended early, but so many positives. And I think the one standout game for me was probably Ebbsfleet. Go 2-0 down, come back, win 3-2. The tactical changes we made in that game I thought it sort of summed up our season.
Tunbridge as well. I know we came from behind again, but we just looked so confident when we went a goal behind. We didn't look like it was going to bother us. And as we know, we started the season well, but 5-0 win against Hitch in the FA Cup, that was flattering. There's no two ways about that. But then we had Hampton, was going to be a tough one. That was a good win. And it set the tone, really. When we didn't play well, we were difficult to beat. And away from home, nobody could buy a goal against us, really. We'd lost our way a bit in the last 4 games, really, when the season was stopped. And when I say lost our way, I don't mean like last season, just disappearing. We weren't playing with a conviction of earlier on. Well, it may have come back. We might have just been going through a dip. We're never going to know. But overall, the whole season, I think when you look at our summer signings, there were a few good ones there, quite a few raised eyebrows for other ones. And so what we produce is full credit to Ian and also Chris Winton, and I guess also Steve Conroy as well.
Yeah, I think all 3 of us sort of noticed it wasn't a great difference, but it was an improvement when Chris Winton came in last season, midway through the campaign. And obviously it was a tough season, and it wasn't, easy to get improvements, but we did slowly improve with Chris in. And I think it actually helped with how long a pre-season we had in the summer. Ian got the squad in really quite early compared to a lot of other teams in the league. And I think it gave Chris, Ian, and also Steve a chance to really work, especially on the defence. And I think we saw that come out. And you mentioned that sort of drop away in form, Dave. I think in my mind, we got that Tonbridge win, and then obviously we lost to Sutton in the trophy, but it was still a reasonable performance against a very strong side. And then we had the COVID issues, didn't we? And I feel like we've never got the momentum back since the COVID break over Christmas. And I think that was always going to be the case. So, but yeah, like you say, I think Chris Winton, in and all the staff deserve a lot of credit.
That's one of the things that made a farce of a season. So many clubs were getting COVID. It was stop-start. It was difficult for any club to really flow, wasn't it?
Just sort of touching again on the pre-season issue. Tavs, if you sort of cast your mind back maybe 10, 15, 20 years even, our pre-seasons often used to just be 4 or 5 home games against league opposition and then a few sort of local teams away. Now we've got maybe 1 or 2 league opposition, and the rest, literally 10, 12 games, are teams in and around our level. And I think that has really put us on an excellent platform to really hit the ground running and get this unit together and play as though. And then when it was time for the season to start again, we were already there. They were all match fit and they were all ready to sort of go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this summer will actually be similar in a way, because obviously once come, hopefully, 21st of June, clubs can have as many fans as they want in, the way it's going. And I know that the Dorking manager has already said that he's planning to play friendlies as early as late June, early July, so he can get the fans back in. And I know Dave is very upset about that. But I think it is, Ian has actually found a really good balance in his pre-season schedule now. And, it's he's so experienced in this game that, he's done a brilliant job this season. I think all the plaudits have to go to him, because at the end of last season, before the Braintree game, which we won, and obviously everyone was happy after that, there was, fans that were unhappy with him, but he's done a brilliant job to turn it around, I think.
The thing about the friendlies for next season, this season was going to go on until the 29th of May anyway, and there may have been another hiccup or 2 along the way, and they might have said, okay, we'll give you 2 more weeks. It would have been a farce. At least now we're cut off. Boom, the season's gone. So we can start our season on our normal date. I think the Southern League and all those, when are they? About 14th of August. We can come in at the same time and have a normal season. Still get rid of the county cups if you want to, just to be certain, give a bit of leeway. So everything can be geared towards a normal season now. I mean, Dorking guy, well, some of the things they spouted out in recent weeks have been nonsense. But getting the friendlies in, getting the fans in, you can understand it, get the club momentum together again, get it all feeling together. We're seeing a load of boring friendlies. I'm not quite sure that's the way to do it, but there you go.
No, but I think there will be an interest for it, because I think fans will just be desperate to get back into grounds and just be drinking beer with their mates watching football, even if the football is absolutely awful. I'm sure that we'll be looking to do the things like that. And I'm hopefully that we'll, maybe a Legends game or something like we've always talked about on this podcast a couple of years ago that went down really well. So, But yeah, it the prospect of a very long pre-season isn't, you know, what you want at the minute. But once fans are back in the ground, I think we'll be absolutely enjoying it again.
Yes, one assumes we're not going to have any restrictions, but as I say, this third wave is starting to come across. And if you look into the last pandemic 100 years ago, the Spanish flu, that also had 3 waves, and the third one was pretty lethal. We hope that's not going to happen.
The history podcast. I suppose, you know, it all just depends on the vaccinations, doesn't it? If it all goes to plan by mid-June, hopefully we can get ready for a very early August kickoff. And I think I mentioned last week that it looks to be about on the 7th of August with the Football League. So I imagine we'll be similar. So hopefully we can all get set for that.
It's going to be interesting with players, because some of the clubs, as we know, have used players from lower leagues to fulfill their sides towards the end of this season, because they had players on furlough or whatever, and these other players wanted to play and they couldn't at the lower levels. So there might be some unknown ones get picked up along the way.
Yeah,
not for us. We've got ours.
I think it'll be very.
Also, but
after you, Lee, it's all right, mate.
Sorry, I was just saying, mate. No, I was just going to say, I hope then this gives the club an opportunity to look at some more academy players. You know, have a look, because this is going to be the perfect sort of time for them to be bedding in. You know, they've got the whole summer just to even train with the first team. They're only going to learn experience from that situation. So, you know, we've got 2 in the first team now. Maybe this will give you the perfect opportunity for Ian to have a look at a few more.
Of course, this season was supposed to be a reorganisation, wasn't it, of non-league? Any word if they're going to try and do it next season, or we're going to postpone it for another year?
I think it's going to be very difficult, isn't it? You know, I don't see how they're going to do it. And the National League divisions look like they're going to be unbalanced again a little bit, obviously with Dover's situation as well. There's some talk I saw the other week of trying to work it out cumulative, so the likes of Worthing can get promoted finally after 2 seasons of pushing. But yeah, surely they can't work it into this season. It's going to be impossible, isn't it?
I like that. Is the National League unbalanced? It's totally unhinged for last year. Goodness sake.
I would. One thing I would say is sort of, we saw last season or last summer, Ian got his sort of player sort of business done really early, didn't he? I think we're going to be looking at Ian looking to do the same. And I wonder how many of the current squad is he going to sign up? 10, 11 at least, surely.
Yeah.
I would like to see another sort of name striker. I think there's been too much pressure on Jeffers to go it alone, but appreciative that these strikers, they're not, you know, abundant in, you know, at the minute, and they do cost money. So, but I think that is another key area where the only area I would improve on is up front, you know, in terms of a quality striker to play alongside Sean. But then that said, the way we are playing currently towards the middle of the season, Sean was on his own, but then he had the runners coming in. We weren't really playing with our wingers, were sort of always cutting inside, looking to sort of do triangles on the edge of the box, bringing in those key players, and they were really benefiting from that.
He's getting too technical, Jake.
He's talking about formations and tactics.
Yeah.
Oh, who do you think we are?
What about talking to your Football League clubs, Lee? You getting anything? Any hint of what they want for next season or anything?
I think it's been touched upon here is the fact that the league clubs, they are such a separate entity. You know, I've spoken to fellas at Dagenham and Wrexham and a few other sort of clubs as well. And in fact, don't forget that Wrexham didn't even get a vote in in the situation that they were asked to. And Dagenham, they had a COVID breakout last week. And again, there's this thing, even in the elite, the top tier of the 3 divisions, there's still COVID breakouts. So there's still situations and games are still being delayed and put back. I don't think it's over yet. I really don't, because, you know, you can see the testing is there. Of course it is, but it's not going to go away in a flash. You know, this is going to take a good few months yet. And I reckon the season might just edge past the completion date that was first set.
Interesting. Of course,
Well, I've got interesting because Woking have also said if they get knocked out of a trophy, Saturday week or whenever it is, they're going to furlough their players. So they're going to do a Dartford.
That's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, Dave, we sort of messaged briefly after last week's podcast that Boreham Wood, boo, actually had their winter sports fund request rejected, didn't they? So I think that's another factor that might sort of sway a few clubs in the National League as to whether they are going to start furloughing more players and staff.
Can you see the league taking action against those clubs? If they do, then Dartford have had it. They're going to be playing in the Kent Senior League next year.
Yeah, I think Dover are in trouble. I saw Ollie Bayliss.
Dover, sorry.
I saw Ollie Bayliss tweeted I think earlier today or yesterday. Someone asked him what does he think they're going to do to Dover, and he said he doesn't believe it'll be relegation, but it might be a points deduction for next season, which I don't think really helps anyone, does it? You know, Dover, they're just going to be stuck there again. So, myself, I wouldn't be shocked if they do get relegated. But again, the whole constitution and it's all such a terrible mess. And I do think there is, like Lee said, there's the risk of more postponements with COVID. And like you've touched on, David, I think there'll be more clubs that say, let's just put the kids out. That's it. You know, we've got nothing to play with. If we're safe, you know, there's no relegation. We may as well.
But yeah, I was going to say, how can they relegate Dover and even Woking if they do go down that path when they say there's no promotion from our leagues?
No, exactly. I think the National League, we keep talking about how well run they are. They are.
No.
Just go, Dave. You can edit this out.
All right. Okay. Well, welcome back to a pod full of ex-Saints plus one idiot who's screwed up the controls. Hello, Jake.
Hello there.
You won't notice, but there was a gap in the recording there, and we've just come back really to sign off. As it is the last one of the season, some of us are taking a bit of trouble to dress up properly. We're going to try and keep this going during the summer. We're not sure what we're talking about. It probably won't be cricket. It'll probably be Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Dave, where's your Wagstaff Simmons award, by the way? Shouldn't you be holding that up at the end of the season?
I wonder what you were going to say then.
What, the trophy I never received? The only winner of it for 2 years and not have a blooming thing, but don't, you know.
You're not bitter about it.
Sort of go into the clubhouse though, Tavs, to, you know, collect it.
No, they haven't got one. They've run out of little things. They've got spaces to put the things on there, Lee. And having a year between presenting one and the next one being presented, it wasn't long enough to order another one. And another 2 years since then, they still haven't had time to order another trophy. These things take time to organise. You've got to go through committees.
It's like
Listen, mate, you know, having had it at Wood Towers myself, I did explain to the trust they need a little bit, a few more shields, but it was all in hand apparently.
Is it? Have you not given it back? Is that what it is?
I've given it back.
Okay, just checking.
Oh, dear.
You'll tell Jake about it because he's never seen it either, obviously for obvious reasons.
No. I don't deserve it, obviously.
Yeah, your contribution to podcasts, obviously.
Have you not heard my commentary?
Say goodbye.
Oh, dear.
We're recording this on Wednesday, the 17th of March. It's not going to be the last one. We will be back probably every 2 weeks or so. We'll try and do one and think of something to talk about.
If people have any ideas of what we should talk about, they can email us. They try and give. It's not, as long as it's not Nottingham Forest or anything silly like that, you know.
Wonder who you're talking about there.
Yeah, or anything else. So yeah, so I suppose it's just thank you for everyone joining us so far this season. I don't think we expected it to be as much of a success as it has been, did we? So it's been enjoyable having everyone, and hopefully we can all see each other in the ground very soon. I think that's the one thing this campaign, hopefully we have helped with, is keep the fans connected to the club.
I have to say that I've been getting messages all week about the fanzine and how much they remember it and it was good and can we bring one back? Could you imagine the hierarchy at Clarence Park, Jake, if you, I and Tabs were to sort of start writing a fanzine? Oh my goodness me.
I mean, I'm sure you'd keep it PG, wouldn't you?
I would.
No.
You would. Mr. Tavener, on the other hand, I'm not entirely sure.
You're not allowed an honest opinion, you know that, Lee.
I mean, did you read his piece in the review this week? That was almost like a fanzine sort of article. So.
It was. How did they let you get away with that? It's outrageous.
It's not a case of getting away. They said every point there is valid, and they were totally supportive of it. And come back, don't go away, Lee. And they got a reply from the club. Supposedly it's written by Lee Page. Yeah, right.
Well, if he said it was, he was then. So
I'm
at
not
least.
the first person to query that, Jake, by the way, and the other one's not far away.
Oh goodness me! Well, I'm sure he did write it. At least the club did give it a response, so that's good. So, but yeah, I'll end it on a happy note, like guys.
Well, listen, Tavs, you keep moaning that the club never respond to you, they never get back to you. When they do, you're still not bloody happy.
No. Excuse me, I wasn't the first one to query it.
Right.
On that note,
Yeah. I suppose it's thank you from us. Email us if you have anything you'd like to talk about, or if you want any topics you'd like us to touch upon, or any stories as well from the club. And yeah, I suppose that's goodbye from us, isn't it, guys? So we'll speak to everyone soon.
take care, fellas.
Cheerio, everyone.
Bye bye.